Let's find the right school, shall we? Hi, I'm Angela Virtu, a professor at American University's Kogod School of Business and the Associate Director of the Institute of Applied Artificial Intelligence. Today, I'm going to show you how we can use AI to help high schoolers and their college counselors identify and curate a list of colleges and universities for them to consider applying to. To do this, we're going to be using Gemini by Google. To get started, I'm going to log in to my Google Gemini instance, and we're going to be greeted with this prompt. Now, I've worked and created a prompt for us to use and follow. If you all at home would like to follow along with me, you can go to kogod.american.edu/AI Masterclass Counselors, and you're going to find the exact prompt that I'm using to complete this workflow. So going back to our Gemini instance, I've copied and pasted that prompt inside our AI, and I'm telling the AI through this prompt a set of very specific instructions that I want it to consider to help our high schoolers identify their curated college list. So the first thing that I'm doing in this prompt is giving our AI a persona. And I'm having the AI kind of take the persona of being one of these high school college counselors who's there to help guide these students through the college search process and identify good schools that they should be applying to. This next part is where I'm really going to lean to your high school counselors to impart some of their expertise and where they can be a little bit more creative in curating this to be specific to their experiences. But there's going to be two options here. Either we're going to have some kind of form that our college counselors provide to these high school students that'll go and walk these students through a particular set of questions. Things about their academic standing, like their current high school GPA, test scores, areas of study that they might be interested in pursuing further on, along with some attributes that students should be considering in order to find the best college fit for them. Things like the distance from home, if they have a preference of having a name school or if that doesn't matter to them, class sizes, how big the school is, if they want an urban or a rural area. Now, if your high school doesn't supply one of those forms for students to kind of fill out on their own, we've baked these questions in through this prompt. So if Gemini doesn't detect any information about the student in particular, it'll prompt the student along and ask for that relevant information to get the best college results possible. The next step is that after the AI system has gathered all of that information about what a student likes or doesn't like about particular programs or areas of study and their academic rigor and history, the AI system is then going to match students with college and universities that meet that profile. It'll overall recommend 15 schools that'll be a mixture of not likely, reach, target, and likely for this particular student. And this final step is going to be the really interesting part where we can now combine information from all of the disparate sources to come together in one really clear table, all of the information about those 15 schools and other identifying information that's using the school's common data set. So we're now going to go out to those 15 schools, leverage their common data set about the previous admission cycle, and we're going to tack on information about class size, the admission rate, and some other interesting metrics, such as if a school is actually test optional, if not submitting tests would penalize a student, and additionally, how important demonstrated interest tracking is for a particular college and making those determining factors. As I said, the output is going to be a really nice table that's easy to digest and read all of this information that should be helpful for both the student and the counselor to go through. Now, when you're a high school counselor and you have hundreds or dozens of students, needing to copy and paste this prompt and have students go through that process and keep track of all the links and work that they've done is really, really burdensome. And so to create a sense of scale and a little bit more organization for this entire effort, instead of just leaving the prompt in this normal space in Gemini, we're going to go over to the menu and create something called a gem. And when we create this gem, we're essentially creating this repeated process where we will have a dedicated space in Google Gemini that's going to have this very particular prompt baked in. And then you can share this gem with all of your students to do on their own in order to streamline this process a little bit. And we don't have to lose or copy and paste this prompt over and over again. So in creating this gem, we can create some kind of name. We could say, college list creation or helper. You can describe what this particular gem is going to do. So I would say something like, we will help high school juniors find and curate their college list. And then in this instruction section, this is where I'm going to go in and put that prompt that we just walked through before. Now, I already have one of these spaces created, so I'm going to jump over to the one that's already created, and you'll see something like this, curating a college list, and it has all of the same instructions as before. And once you click save and you have that particular gem made, you'll see something like this, where you get the title of that gem, the little description that we typed in before, any recent conversations that we've had within this gem space, and then we get the chat bot just like before. Now, because we've already set those instructions in and we have this sense of scale now, instead of needing to copy and paste that entire prompt, we could just type something like begin. And now, since we've typed begin and this space or this gem already has the context of that prompt, it'll start going through each of those steps. So it'll begin with giving me that college profile questionnaire because I just typed the word begin. I didn't tell this AI system anything about me or my preferences or what I'm looking for out of this high school college system. And so the first thing it's going to ask me for is something about my academic profile. And then in this second part, this is where we get some attribute ranking, where number 1 is not important and 10 is extremely important to me in my college search. So I'm going to take a moment and answer all of these questions that the AI system has provided me to give context and relevant information about my likes. So now that I've filled this out, we can go through, but I'm addressing each of the questions that the AI has asked me. So I put in my weighted GPA. I say I haven't taken the ACT or the SAT yet. I'm in the top 20% of my class. And then I go through each of those college attributes that's been listed out, where 1 is the least important to me and 10 is the most important attribute for me. I'm okay with having accessible teachers or not. I don't really care for small class sizes. So on and so forth. And in here, I'm saying my distance from home, I want it to be a 3-hour drive away. And so now when we hit enter, the AI system's going to take all of that feedback that I just gave it of what I'm looking for in a particular program. And now it'll list out some 15 different schools that I should maybe consider. And it'll list out those 15 schools by name, the category of if they're likely, not likely a target school, and then where they're located along with their admissions likelihood. So we can see UVA, probably not likely for me based on my scores and profile right now, but something like Louisville or Miami of Ohio might be better fits for me at the moment. Then further down, this is where it gets more interesting, where we now can partake all of the information from that common data set and have a really nice clear table of information displayed. So for every one of those schools, we have the percentage of classes under 20 students, the percentage of enrolled students submitting test scores if it was test optional where it's applicable. And this is really important because this will tell me if a school is actually test optional or if I as a student would get penalized for not submitting scores. So if we come down to Clemson, 61% of everyone who was enrolled submitted some test scores. So maybe I should consider actually submitting my test scores for that application process. We then have the importance of demonstrated interest. So for schools where it's really high, I should make sure I click on those emails. I maybe attend a preview day of some sort. And then we have the average need-based and merit-based financial awards that we have. So this really is a nice chart and a jumping off point for our college counselors to kind of help explain and maybe curate this list even further. And then at the very bottom, you get a nice little summation of where the information's coming from and some other information that would be helpful for me as a student looking at schools.